My name is Sara-Louise Henry, Ecosystem Navigator for Women in Small Business, and I am so excited to support, advocate, and connect with you.
I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 206 of the podcast today. So for the last 3 weeks, we've been sharing some shorter podcasts to wrap up 2020, and today's podcast is actually our final podcast for this calendar year. Over the last 2 weeks, we took some time to share the stories of our newest members of the Collider team, our Ecosystem Navigators. These individuals are part of a 2-year pilot program here in Rochester to lower barriers to entrepreneurship. They provide one-on-one assistance and connection to help entrepreneurs and innovators just be heard, to feel supported, and to expand the network of those individuals to connect with business resources located here in the community. And this pilot program is specifically for entrepreneurs who have been systemically left behind, and it's funded through the Kansas City-based Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation. In podcast episode 204, you heard the stories of one of our ecosystem navigators, Julio Molina, who is working primarily with the Hispanic and Spanish-speaking business community here in Rochester. Last week in episode 205, you heard from another of our ecosystem navigators, Christopher Loving, who's serving primarily the Black business and entrepreneurial community here in Rochester. And finally, this week, we're sharing with you the story of our third navigator, Sara-Louise Henry. And Sara-Louise is focusing her efforts as an ecosystem navigator on minority women and women-owned businesses in the community. The audio that you're listening to today from these interviews was recorded by Ambient House Productions in a collaboration that was enabled through a Keep It Local grant from the Rochester Downtown Alliance. So we're very grateful to have received this grant to tell the stories of our ecosystem navigators and share this resource with the community. Ambient House is producing portions of the audio that you hear today in videos to introduce the ecosystem navigators to you and to entrepreneurs in Rochester. You can look for those videos to come out early in January 2021. We actually just wrapped up shooting some B-roll with Julio, Chris, and Sara-Louise yesterday. In between the holiday seasons, we're grateful for everyone's time and their efforts to have these stories heard and get them out there to entrepreneurs that they can help in the community. As a reminder to everyone listening in, Rochester Rising serves as the storytelling arm of Collider. Collider is a Rochester-based nonprofit that supports early-stage entrepreneurs in the community through storytelling, space, events, and education. On Rochester Rising, we put out a podcast every week, as well as other article and video content to amplify stories of Rochester-based entrepreneurs, let people know what entrepreneurs are building in the community, how they're building it, and to understand why they're here in Rochester and the challenges they're facing. So on the podcast today in episode 206, we're very grateful to share with you the story of our newest Collider team member, Sara-Louise Henry, serving as an ecosystem navigator with this organization. On the podcast today, Sarah shares with you her interest, passion, and why she's drawn to this role of an ecosystem navigator to empower women in business in the community. So I will let Sarah take it from here and share more about herself with you.
I'm Sara-Louise Henry, and I am an ecosystem navigator with Collider. I grew up here in Rochester, Minnesota, and I love to read. I love being outdoors, being with my family, and I love watching movies. My connection with Collider is that when I heard about what they were doing and how they are looking at linking local entrepreneurs with different business opportunities, it just appealed to me because I have been part of a startup company before. And I know that there's lots of barriers for particularly minorities and women in small business, and I've seen it firsthand. So the idea of being part of a foundation that is intentional about helping those particular populations with connecting them to resources in the community was very appealing to me. My role as a navigator means that I am a connector, and not just a connector. I link people with different resources, but also to be an encourager and an advocate. I want to listen to what their needs are. I want to be supportive, because when you're starting up a business or in the beginning stages, it can be very, very stressful. And sometimes you can feel isolated. And so I want to offer the opportunity to encourage others and to help give them knowledge. And if I don't know the answer, take that information back to the foundation and the community so we can find out a way to bridge that gap. The process that I work through when I am linked with an entrepreneur is, first we meet, I get to know you. I want to know what your passion is, what your reason was for starting your business or wanting to start your business. And then I want to know what's working well and what are the barriers. And what I do is I take those barriers and we find a way to see if there are services that can assist you in forming your business and any resources that we can help you with. And then if there are, that's great. You can follow up with that. And if there aren't, then I take that back to the foundation and we look in the community and say, what can we do to assist you? Either way, then after that, we follow up with you. And I want to know how things are going and if there's any other steps that we can take. But most of all, I want an entrepreneur to know that they are not alone in this walk and in this journey. And so I will be there every step of the way to see how I can assist you. The perspective that I bring to the table is, one, I am from this community, and so I do know of a lot of different resources and a lot of people who are in the community who don't consider themselves entrepreneurs. I'm aware of a lot of those individuals, and so I'm able to seek out some of those people who could benefit from our services. And also I have the experience coming from working with a startup, so knowing some of those ins and outs of the beginning stages of business and kind of what are some steps that you could take to get the ball rolling. I would like to see more women in business. I think a lot of times because the stereotypical role of a woman is to have some of those nurturing roles in their family. I think sometimes women don't see themselves in the business sector, and that's completely untrue. And so the women who are looking at coming up with these different ideas and starting different things, I want them to feel empowered, and I want them to know that there are other women out there who are doing this and are killing it. And I think some of the other barriers just in general are getting the word out, knowing who to ask. Financing is also a barrier that we see a lot of. And so just getting that information and knowing who to connect with has been a barrier. It's important for me to serve the community because I have been served by this community. I've grown up here, and now I want to pour back into the community. I see so much potential and so much talent in this community. And many of those people who don't see themselves at their true potential and see themselves as entrepreneurs and feel that their dreams are realistic. And I want to be a part of helping those people realize that, yes, your dreams are realistic and you are capable, and there is help out there to help you pursue what you want to do in life. I am excited to meet people. I love connecting with entrepreneurs and hearing about these different ideas that they have, the brilliance of people, and seeing all of these different ways that they've put together their business, especially some of those people who've put together their businesses without some resources that could be helpful to them. I love seeing that, and I'm excited to see where they can go with additional help and support. Success in this role for me primarily means that an entrepreneur feels that they've been heard and that they have made a connection. If there are situations where we're unable to have a resource for an entrepreneur, then success looks like bringing that awareness into our community and finding out what we can do to help them. But primarily, I just want entrepreneurs to have hope and continue on their journey and be recharged by the fact that they have support from an ecosystem navigator. So coming from this community as a Black woman, I also am aware that there are some systemic issues where we are disproportionately accessing those services. And I think it's very important to have someone who has been on the business side of, this community, being able to kind of speak to other minority women in our community and to just give them also encouragement, support, and also just giving them access to resources that they aren't aware of. I would say to the woman who's at home and watching TV and has an idea on how to make something better, I would say to the Black woman who has not seen herself represented in all of these different business places and systems. And I would say to women who have an interest in, making a startup company and don't know how to do that. What I would say to all of those women is, if you're thinking like that, if you have those ideas and that desire, you already are an entrepreneur at heart. And what I want to offer is my assistance and advocacy and getting you to the next level. So if you have an idea, what's after that? If you have a small business, okay, what's next for you? And that's how I want to be able to serve the minority women and women in small business in this community.
Thanks so much to Sara for sharing her story with us today. Again, please check back with the past 2 episodes of this podcast, episode 205 and 204, to learn more about our other ecosystem navigators, Julio and Christopher. You can find more information about the Ecosystem Navigator program and learn how it can serve you if you're either thinking about entrepreneurship and wondering how to get started, or are trying to locate some business resources and need some help locating them in the community. Check out our Ecosystem Navigator program. It's a free and confidential service offering a lot of value. You can find a link to learn more about the program in our show notes, and you can also connect directly with Sara-Louise at Sara-Louise@collider.mn. And we'll have Sarah's email in our show notes as well. So before we wrap up today, I wanted to share with you another offering we had through Collider, this time in our education pillar, an upcoming completely virtual Basics of Entrepreneurship program. This is Collider's second time running the program. We ran a successful pilot this summer. And this is not your traditional education course. It is not lecture-based at all. Instead, participants are provided books, which they pay for through a registration fee. Collider sends these books to you. You read through them prior to each live facilitated session, which will take place every Tuesday night. And instead, during your live sessions, you connect with your other peers who are going through the same process of launching a business or growing a very early stage business. And instead of lecturing, we actually bring in an entrepreneur from the community that a lot of you probably know, a different person each session, to really talk towards that topic of the week and how they worked through that in their business. So giving you very relatable information and showcasing a little bit of how people built their business here in the community. You can find more information about Collider's Basics of Entrepreneurship class, again, through our show notes, where you can go directly to that page at collider.mn/BOE. There is a $40 registration fee for the Basics of Entrepreneurship class, and this is to pay solely for the books. If you would like to participate in the class, but purchasing these books is a barrier to you being able to participate, let us know. We have several scholarships available, and we really want everyone who wants to participate in this program and really use it to accelerate their progress, and connect with others to be able to do that. So if you're interested in one of the scholarships, you can reach out directly to us at hello@collider.mn for more information. And as always, we're always looking for sponsors for this podcast. So if our mission to amplify stories of Rochester entrepreneurs aligns with that of your business, let us know. You can shoot us an email at hello@collider.mn to get more information about sponsorship opportunities. That's it for us today for the final podcast of 2020. Thanks so much to all of you for tuning in, whether this was your first time or if you've listened into every podcast from this year and beyond. We would greatly appreciate you rating this podcast and sharing it with somebody who you think it could help. That's a major way to help not only our organization, but entrepreneurs in this community. We'll be here in January, just next week, with a brand new episode.